So, Mega Evolutions are returning, guys. That is the overall rumor that's floating around right now. But no, that's not actually the case here. So, there's there have been a couple places that have been reporting on Mega Evolutions returning just because the keystones and everything were found in the game's files. That's not really the case, like, at all, really. And I'm going to kind of break down exactly why. So real quick, let's go ahead and take a look here. If you type Mega's Sword and Shield in YouTube, you'll get a couple of clickbaity things, a little bit of old stuff, some toxic stuff, some other people reporting on it as well, but it's mainly this video that we're going to go ahead and take a look at. This is the guy who kind of started the whole trend here. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at his video real quick. I've gone ahead and I've already watched through it, just so that I know exactly what I'm talking about here. So basically he goes through and he kind of talks about some new leaks specifically from Pokemon Home, and then he goes into and he talks about the items that were found in the game's files, talking about how there's the Mega Stones and everything, and yeah, so that's really about it. That's about the summarization of his video. Now, I'm not going to write a 10-minute hate piece on him or anything, but I will go ahead and just kind of clear up some confusion on it. And this guy, he's actually not doing too much wrong in this case. His thumbnail and his title are a little misleading and a little clickbaity, but I mean the two, that's kind of to be expected, I guess. But basically what he's doing is that in the beginning of the video he talks about the leaks for all the TMs and the TRs that were updated in Pokemon Home. The data for that actually now exists for those. So you can go through and you can check all that out themselves here. He's got a link to the pastebin. I mean, you can just type that into your web browser and view that link as well. So he talks about that for a little bit, and then he does clearly distinguish when he's talking about a new leak and when he's talking about an old leak. So there's really not too much else to talk about. He does a fairly good job at explaining a few things, uses his own speculations and whatnot moving forward as well. But just because the game's data's... just because the files exist in the game doesn't mean that the Pokemon are going to be returning in this case. Doesn't mean that Cubone's going to return because the Thick Club is in the game. Doesn't mean that Megas are going to return just because the Mega Evolution items are in the game. There are more items in the game as well. Things like Z-moves are also in the game's files, but that doesn't really get touched up on in this video as well. So real quick, let's go ahead and just kind of touch up on a few more things. So this video is kind of what started it all. Again, I'm not hating on the guy. I'm just kind of trying to give an informative look at the whole situation. But then this one kept appearing on my phone from a place called Nintendo Soup. Now, Nintendo Soup basically just went ahead and regurgitated pretty much everything he talked about, pretty much verbatim. Everything that he mentioned in the video is mentioned on this list. So, yeah, they basically just said these are what they do. It's not confirmed that the Pokemon are returning yet. They could be, but they're not. Just honestly kind of regurgitates the information. But I've seen this one pop up on my phone 3 to 4 times already. So it's kind of what started this whole thing. Because I clicked on it and like, oh, maybe there was new leaks for Sword and Shield, when really they're talking about things that leaked all the way back in November. The next one, and this one actually it's actually the one that kind of takes it a little too far, in my opinion, because it kind of passes things off as these are confirmed. But more than that, basically it just kind of talked about the exact same things. They do go through and they explain the exact same items he was talking about, like the blue orb and the red orb, all the Mega Stones, whether or not it's legit, and it's like... And they say what makes these findings more legitimate is the fact that other items have been found known to promote evolving for confirmed returning Pokemon. And then they go on to say the Lucky Stone, which is... The Lucky Stone doesn't actually exist. I don't know what they're really doing here. 1, it's not an evolution item, like they mentioned above. 2, they're talking about the Lucky Punch, which increases Chansey's critical hit ratio. And then there is the Electrolyzer, which is in the game's files, and Electabuzz is returning, so that item in particular will be getting some use moving forward. And they're like, new Pokemon confirmed? If this information is correct, it could mean the following Pokemon and items will return. It doesn't mean anything. Honestly, that's the whole point of this video, is that the returning items found in the game's files mean nothing. There's nothing at all that it means here. And it goes on to mention the exact same items that the guy was talking about in his video as well. So that's about it, honestly. And honestly, I find these hilarious because they're basically just kind of spreading misinformation. I'm gonna go ahead and break down why exactly. All right, so as you can see here, I have two different folders pulled up. The first one is for these are both of the folders that I've been using in my old videos to hack Sun and Moon, as well as X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So first, let's go ahead and touch up on Gen 6. I'm going to go ahead and open a program called PK3DS. What this basically does is it goes through the game's files and allows me to view certain things like the trainer data, the game text, yada yada yada, all of that good stuff. The thing we're going to be focusing on is the game text. So it's going to ask me which game I want. It's going to load everything up. As you can see here, the game loaded is Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and specifically it's the Alpha Sapphire. So if you want to go ahead and kind of run through the game's files and check these for yourself as well, you definitely can. Now let's go ahead and click on where it says game text, and for further verification, if you want to check through these files yourself, it actually says here the GARC file is A073, so you can go ahead and view those as well if you want. Now the text editor itself, it's going to pull up this little window, and it's going to have all these different text files in it. Many different things, Pokedex entries, rain, items, tax, so on and so forth. Now the items are actually in their own separate folder, and they're pretty far in there, so let's go ahead and just kind of make things a little simpler. So let's go ahead and click Export All. What this is basically going to do is it's going to export all of the text in this file into a text file. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Game text. And now let's go ahead and open up that file. And we're going to look for an item that hasn't been in the games in quite some time. So let's go ahead and take a look at the... sure, why not? Let's go ahead and take a look for the Gameboy Sounds. The Gameboy Sounds were only introduced in Heart Gold and Soul Silver and haven't been in another game since. So remember, these are Generation 6 text files we're going through. So if we type Gameboy Sounds, as you can see I've already done a search like this before. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Now we had to find the last one on the file here for Generation 6, but for Gen 7 we're going to find the first one on the file because again, everything is it's in the same order, but it's just kind of mixed around. So the Gameboy Sounds, as you can see, they're right here. Now let's go ahead and take a look here and see exactly which file they're in. So we gotta scroll all the way up to the top here. They're in text file 116. So opening this back up, let's go to 116, and let's scroll all the way down here. Now the main thing that's going to tell us where it is that if you look at it, hold on, let's go ahead and just get back to it real quick. Then all these data cards, there's a ton of data cards. It's basically going to tell us exactly where it is right now. So we're just going to browse through the files until we find the data cards. Should see them. Yep, there they are right there. And let's go ahead and check. Yep, there are the Gameboy Sounds. As you can see, the Gameboy Sounds are registered as file number, or not file, but line number 502. Now let's go ahead and pull up the Sun and Moon text files. The Sun and Moon text files themselves, let's go ahead and just open up another version of PK3DS. Got the same exact thing here. We're going to do the same thing for it. So we're going to go ahead and type moon underscore game text. And as you can see, I do have Sun and Moon loaded up here. It's coming out of the Moon file, game loaded, Sun and Moon. And you can download all these files for yourself as well, not the text files and the game files and everything, but the tools themselves. You can find them all on projectpokemon.org. I may have some outdated versions of them. Like I said, these are the files I used to hack for videos a long time ago. So let's go ahead and just open that up real quick here. So Moon game text, Control F, find the Gameboy Sounds. Like I said, we're going to find the first one here because if we go any further, it's going to start showing us this other information here. So we're going to find that first one. As you can see, it is in the same spot pretty much. Got the data cards there. So let's go ahead and pull it up in, let's see exactly which file it is in. And there we go. Text file 36. So let's go ahead and look at text file 36. See, there's all the items. Let's scroll down to 502. There's the Gameboy Sounds. So as you can see, they're both in the exact same spot. There's all the other items are also right behind them as well. But this isn't Sword and Shield. So let's go ahead and pull up Sword and Shield real quick. Now, I don't have access to the game files for Sword and Shield, but let's take a look at that Bulbapedia page that BLAINES himself was looking at in his own video. So, once we have that pulled up right here, we can go ahead and just, as you can see, you've got it all by hex number, you've got them by the number. The number is the most important part, so let's go ahead and type 502. And what do you know? Those are the Gameboy Sounds. So, that's what this means. Basically, all of this is just that the files exist, and they have existed for a very long time. Just because the files are registered back in to Sword and Shield doesn't mean that they're going to come back in any way. And that's basically the whole point of this video, is that the game files themselves mean nothing. Just because the files exist doesn't mean anything is going to happen with them. Now, the files exist in a way that Game Freak can make use of them again. They can have everything reference these text files, all of this information, but that doesn't, again, I can't stress it enough, it doesn't mean anything is coming back. It just means that there are files that reference these things. I mean, look at these. The Sport Ball hasn't been introduced in a game since Heart Gold, Soul Silver. The Park Ball hasn't been introduced in a game since Diamond and Pearl. Really, Heart Gold and Soul Silver was the last one they were in, and you couldn't even use those to begin with. So why would you need to have those in the game's files still? Now, the Sport Ball itself, that, you know, you can still catch a Pokemon in a Sport Ball, but still, my point still stands. You've got things like the Red and Blue Orb, all of that, and if you scroll back over to this, let's go ahead and go to the bottom of the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire list. You've got the Eon Flute at 775, so let's go to 775 here. You've got the Eon Flute in Sun and Moon, and let's go ahead and take a look at 775 in Sword and Shield. It's the Eon Flute again. And as you can see, all the Z moves are in there too. Every single Z crystal, the Z ring itself as well. Does that mean Z moves are coming back? No, it doesn't. Does that mean that they'll never come back? No, it doesn't. Same goes for Megas. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to get everything out of the way on. Again, I'm not trying to write any sort of hate pieces on him or anything. The guy was just posting some information he found, some things that he felt he could make some good content on, some good discussion, those kinds of things. Honestly, there's really nothing wrong with BLAINES' video. I honestly think that it's perfectly fine in this case. He's not really being too misleading or anything. He makes things very clear in his own content as well. So I don't really see the point of writing any sort of hate pieces on him. This is meant to be more of a informative discussion about the entirety of these found items, because a lot of places are reporting on them as though they're fact. And I mean, and by a lot of places, I namely just mean these two, but these two are persistent. I've seen this one on my phone once, and I've seen this one on my phone like 3 times. Honestly, I really have. But that should be it. That should about cover it for all of this. Just keep in mind that if you see something on the internet, take a moment to look at it, try and see exactly what's going on with it, try to form your own opinions on it, rather than just following what is easy to believe. Do some research. That's basically what I'm saying here. Alright, but now that I've gotten all of that out of the way here, help clear that up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of close things off here. So if you like this video, I don't know if I'll be doing anything else like this, but if anything else needs debunking as far as this goes, then I'll be more than happy to take a look into it. So feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you'd like to see anything else, and leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Let me know if you think Megas will return or not, and I will see you in the next one.